Oh, here we go again. Oh, here we go again. I thought you wanted me to work, love. I thought you wanted me to follow the path I followed for forever, oh love, for so long. I thought you wanted me to work on it. I thought you wanted me to be somewhere. Thought you believed in something better than all I've got. Oh, here we go again. She won't open the door. Oh, I know I've been a fool again. Can't take this shit anymore. I'm in the wrong again. I can't always be this dumb. I can't believe she's still holding on. It shouldn't take me so long, so long. Turns out I only think of me. Turns out you only wanted love. Turns out I only think of me for love. Now I see I wanna wake up early.
Great. Welcome everyone to this live Visdeurbel news report. I'm so excited that you're all watching and so excited to bring you this news report live from the Weerdsluis in Utrecht. This is the place where the Visdeurbel is located. And today we're gonna have a live Visdeurbel news report because I want to show you around at the Weerdsluis and I would love to be able to chat with you. So if you have any questions, anything at all, just put them in the chat and I will be able to talk with you. We will have a few guests today as well. Anne Nijs, the urban ecologist who I've been working with for 4 years, will be here. And I will be talking to one of the boat lock operators as well. Before we start, I want to thank you all for helping out the past few months because you have been helping to get all these fish through the lock. And I was overwhelmed with the amount of people that were willing to help because we already have 2.4 million people from all over the world that helped us out. And it was really from all over the world. I think most people this year that helped out came from the US. We also had a lot of people from the United Kingdom, even from Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, from everywhere. And I cannot stress enough how thankful I am for all these people helping out, and it has also been a lot of fun talking with you guys. So I hope today we will be able to chat a little bit more. Well, we're going to start with the boat lock operator. I'm going to ask him some questions, and if you have any questions for our boat lock operator, his name is Bouke, by the way, then I don't have to call him boat lock operator all the time, then please put them in the chat. Bouke, welcome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
For being here, for taking the time. Luckily, there are not too many boats today, so I think you have some time to chat.
Of course.
I would like to start with a question because, as people could see just now, the boat lock, the Weerdsluis, has still to be opened by hand. And I was wondering, how much time does it take to open the boat lock? Can you tell something about that?
Well, when the water is dropping or the water rise, it takes about 60 minutes. And then as the water leveling, then it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it takes quite a lot of time actually to open the boat lock.
It does.
And I think that's important to realize because sometimes people ask, well, can you open the boat lock for every fish that's visible, but I think if you would open the boat lock for one fish, it takes almost 45 minutes in total to run the full cycle. Isn't it so? Yeah.
It does.
Now, I noticed that the past few weeks there were quite a lot of boats already because the weather is getting nice. But in early spring there are no boats at all, right?
No.
So what does that mean? If I tell you there are fish waiting, what does that mean for you guys as a boat lock operator?
Well, for us, the lock is closed at that time of the year.
Yeah.
And how we do it, we got a Visdeurbel, you ring it, and then we get a notification, and then we open it for the fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is that for you to not open it for the boats but for the fish?
At the start it was a little bit strange because no interaction, only the fish. You can't see the fish.
Yep,
It's the result there, but it's really great for nature and for the fish to do something back.
Ah, cool.
Wow.
Thanks a lot. I also heard you get a lot of reactions when you're here, right?
Extreme.
What do I have to think about then? What is it?
Well, the normal question: where is the Visdeurbel? How does it work? How many times do you open it? And do you see results for it? But just the basic, a lot of questions about the Visdeurbel.
So are people enthusiastic about it?
They are,
Yeah?
really, all the way from America.
Really? Also from outside the
yeah,
Netherlands?
outside the Netherlands, UK, all the way to Utrecht for this doorbell and the big hype after it.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. Cool. Have you watched the Visdeurbel yourself?
Yes.
Have you seen
weekly.
any fish?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I haven't seen any fish, but I will watch it weekly.
Brilliant.
Check it.
Cool. I'm just looking at the chat. I see some nice questions about how many fish there are have passed the boat lock already. Well, I will get back to that later in the live stream. So please stay tuned for this. And also whether Buddy the Perch is staying in Utrecht. Well, he is staying in Utrecht, but he won't be here all the time. Well, thanks a lot for having this chat, Bouke. I'm sure you can. You have to work on the boat lock again, and maybe we'll see each other later in this live stream.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot
you for the time.
Cool. Well, we've been working on this Visdeurbel, of course, for quite a few months already, and I'm really wondering if by now you all have become fish experts. So what I would love to do is to start a fish quiz for you. What we will do is we will show you some footage of fish that have passed the boat lock this spring, and I would love to hear from you whether you can guess which fish this is. And you get some bonus points if you know the Dutch name as well. And the nice thing is many fish have passed the boat lock. I'm very much in favor of certain fish, but I won't tell you which one. And we will start with the first one. And the first fish you see right here is a large predator fish. And it's very recognizable about the big mouth it has, a lot of teeth. It has eyes. It is very a visible hunter, so it's hunting on eyesight, and it's one of my absolute favorites. It took a bit of time for them to start migrating this year in the boat lock, but by now there quite many have passed. So I'm wondering whether you know what fish this is, and especially if you also know the Dutch name. You might also see the beautiful spots on the side of his body. It's just a fabulous fish. Brilliant. I see the first answers coming in, and I see the Dutch name. So that's many extra points. I see the name, and it's the pike. And in Dutch, we call them snoek. I love this name, snoek. We've got also someone who thinks it's a sturgeon, and I can understand why you think it's a sturgeon, because it's also a very large fish with a pointy mouth, but in this case it is the snoek. Thank you very much. Then we continue to the next fish. And if you know me already, this is my absolute favorite. It's also a predatory fish, beautiful fish. It has these very typical stripes along his body, red fins, and they can grow up to about 50 centimeters, which for this fish is quite large. We see them a lot now in the boat lock, and by this time we also see many small ones of this species. So I'm very curious whether you know what this species is. If you have been in Utrecht, you might have seen it, not underwater, but in the Weerdsluis, because it has been here in a blown up version of 7 meters long. I get some answers. Yes, this one isn't too difficult, of course. I see all Dutch names coming in, so again, extra points. And it is the baars, the perch. It's one of my favorites. I don't know why exactly, but it's just a fish that shows up a lot before the Visdeurbel, so we can always count on them. And it's just a fascinating, compact fish, the perch. We continue to the third one, and this is, well, it can't be mistaken. This, so it's a very snake-like fish. It's very long. I even got one here as a a model. We've seen them quite a lot this year. Last year I've only seen them twice, and this year we already saw over 10 of this species. I'm very curious if you know this one as well. Let's see if there are some answers coming in. Well, it seems that this one is a little bit more difficult, I guess. There we go. I think there's also a bit of a delay in the chat, but I'm seeing it now. All right, answered. It is the paling, or we call them aal in Dutch, and eel or European eel is the English name. It's a fascinating species. We've talked about this a lot because the eel you see here in the Weerdsluis has actually come here as a tiny eel of only 10 centimeters and traveled all the way across the world because they breed in the Sargasso Sea, which is all the way to Central America. And they make this incredible journey all the way to the Dutch coast, where they have to find their way into fresh water, and then they grow up in the Netherlands or at other parts in Western Europe, and it will take about 10 years for them to grow this big, especially this big. So it's a very special fish, and we've seen them a lot. 2 more fish to go, and I'm going to show you the 4th fish, and now it's getting a little bit more difficult. I've shown you some easy species, but now we're going to go a little bit more difficult, and this is one of the bad boys we've talked about earlier. It is a fish that is very typical for this type of water. They have these big mouths they use to take a little bit of soil in their mouth and they filter out their food. They are beautiful fish. We've seen them a lot in the morning where you see these dark shades passing the Visdeurbel, and they are very typical for this type of water. I'm very curious if you know which fish I'm talking about. There was quite a clear migration peak this year, and right now most of them have already passed, so we don't see them this much anymore. But you will see them continuously all year round because they are also very typical for this water. So I'm very curious if you are able to tell me what this fish is. And the first answer is coming in. Different answers. It is more difficult. It's not quite as clear as the other species. This is brilliant. I see someone saying it's a catfish. Unfortunately not. I understand why you're saying this, but it's not a catfish. Also not the walleye or the snoekbaars. I see the correct answer, and that is the brasem, or also freshwater bream. I don't know if you remember this one. I've talked about it during one of the Visdeurbel news reports. It is a fish with a little bit of a controversial image because they're also known to eat a lot of soil, and that makes the water more cloudy, and sometimes that can make the a little bit more difficult for water plants to grow. But at the same time, they are very beautiful fish. They can grow up to 60 centimeters. And well, like I said, I think already many times, they are very typical for this water and I love to see them. Now we're going to move to the most difficult fish species. We saw them as one of the first migratory species passing the boat lock. So I'm very curious if you still remember which fish this is. You often only see those big heads. They can grow up to 80 centimeters and they're very typical for flowing water. So they live in rivers and streams. They've passed the boat lock quite many times this year. I was so pleased to see many of them. And also it's so important that we've helped them out because they travel at a time that the boat lock is closed continuously. So without our help, they wouldn't be able to continue their journey and reproduce in the Kromme Rijn or further, because they can travel all the way up to Germany. So I'm very curious whether there is someone who recognizes this fish. We don't see them now anymore because they already finished their migratory journey. Let's see if there is a good answer in the chat, because this is a very challenging one. It is not a roach of Voorn in Dutch, although they have a very similar shape. I think I will tell what we are looking at. It is the eid, or Dutch name the vinde. And it's not very known actually, but it's one of the most beautiful fish living in rivers. Yes, here we go. We got a good answer. The vinde. Zalmforel. Oh, if that's like a trout. If that would be the case, then I would be very happy. I would love to see a trout or even a salmon here, but that's not here yet. Yes, I see the correct answers coming in now. So the eid, or the vinde, one of the most beautiful fish that have passed the Visdeurbel this spring. So I got a question, how many fish have passed the boat lock right now? And I went through all the data and we've seen that already over 600 individual fish have shown up before the Visdeurbel, the camera. Well, you have to realize that our camera can only capture a fracture of the boat lock. So I estimate that you have to multiply this number by 3 or 5 times, which means that already a few thousand fish have been able to pass this small boat lock, thanks to you. Well, we see different species. I made a small top 5 of the species we saw, and that's probably not that surprising, the fish you see. We've seen a lot of perch, freshwater bream, common roach. We've seen the pike, and those are the species that we've seen the most. Now also we had a few rare sightings, special sightings, and I think you have seen these in the Visdeurbel news report as well. The first one is a koi carper. Is it a koi carper? We've got 2 images. Maybe we can show the koi carper. Well, the first one is a koi carper, and the reason I thought this was quite special is because it's actually not a wild fish. A koi carper is a fish that is being kept in ponds, and every now and then they escape or they are being released. Please don't do this. Don't release pets into the wild, but this one was, and luckily for this one, it seems to be thriving and surviving quite good. So it was quite a rare sight to see this yellowish reddish fish between the other carps. And another special fish we saw was the catfish. And I was pretty amazed to see this one. I spoke with some fishermen in the city and they said they've seen it before. And they can grow out to be 1.5 meters up to 2.5 meters long. Well, the catfish we saw is not that long. I think it was about 1 meter, which is still quite impressive. And it's very interesting to see this wide mouth with these long barbs appearing in the middle of the night. I was quite amazed by this. So we saw all cool fish passing this week. I'm gonna quickly see in the chat if there are any questions yet. This is a very nice question. Can you use the Visdeurbel data to do scientific research about fish behavior and ecology? Well, I think we can use the data much more than we do now, but it's already showing interesting things. And one of the most important observations we made so far is that we've only seen about 11 species of fish. While we know that in the area there are up to 30 species living here. So then the question arises, why aren't there more species passing the boat lock? And if we look at the type of species, then we see that especially the fish species that prefer habitats with a lot of water plants or underwater structure, they are missing. So that's already confirming what we think is going on in the city, and that is there is a lack of good fish habitat. So this data is really helping us to create more urgency to do something about it. Now, also we try to compare the fish data from year to year, but this can differ a lot due to the circumstances. If we have a very warm spring, then we see different things happening than when it's cold or wet. So it's difficult to compare for one location this data from year to year. But we try to do our best. Can the koi carp interbreed with wild carp? I actually don't know. I think it is the same species. So I can imagine there are hybrids. It can be that they can interbreed. But often it's not only whether they can, but also whether the behavior is the same. So there's more to it. But that would be interesting. If there's someone who does know this, please let me know in the chat or tell us later, because I love this type of information. Well, for now, I think it's time. I want to ask someone to join me here. I want to ask Anne Nijs to come and talk with us. I met Anne 4 years ago. Yeah, please sit down. She is an urban ecologist in the city of Utrecht, and we started this project 4 years ago. Since then, we've had a lot of fun, and I would love to have a chat with you about it. If there's anyone that has a question for Anne, just let us know in the chat. So Anne, it's great for you to be here.
Yes, really
Thanks
nice.
a lot.
Thank you.
Well, like I said, you're an urban ecologist. Maybe you can shortly tell something that you do in the city of Utrecht.
Yeah, in the city we also have a lot of nature, a lot of species living, and so we monitor them. We look how they are doing, and we try to make their environment better by a lot of things. Also, fauna passages. You know the English word?
Wildlife crossings.
Like we have here.
Yeah.
An underwater wildlife crossing. So we do things like that because in the city you have a lot of obstacles, of course.
Yeah.
The roads and canals, and so for some species, it can be difficult. But we also see we have a lot, and we try to increase the biodiversity.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I was so surprised because I do a lot with fish and underwater nature, but there are so many species actually living in the city, far more than I would have expect. And like you're saying, there are a lot of wildlife crossings. What type of animals use this? You can also say the Dutch name. I don't know exactly, but
yes, it depends. For example, in the city, where everybody lives, we see a lot of hedgehogs, of course. Also, martenachtige.
martens, I think. Yeah.
They live at night, especially. But and then in the edges of the city, where also it's a bit there are less houses. We see the das, the badger.
The badger.
And so all the animals that cannot fly, they have to use the wildlife.
Wildlife crossings.
Yes,
Cool. All right. So 4 years ago we met, and I think it was at this boat lock, and I came with you with a crazy idea to build a Visdeurbel. And what surprised me even more, that you were crazy enough to say yes to this.
Yeah.
Why did you say yes to this? I'm still wondering to this day. Why do you think this would work?
Yeah, I really had the feeling. I was so enthusiastic, and I really thought we have to do this. This is really this is a perfect mix of things. We do something. We open the lock. We do something for the fish
Yeah.
physical. We do research because we know more about the species. You just told us about that, and we also engage the people.
Yeah.
And this is such an unknown world on the water. So I thought, yeah, we have to do this. And then when you really want to do something really badly, yeah, you want to do a lot for it, and then we made it happen. Huh?
I was so surprised that you were so enthusiastic,
Yeah.
because sometimes when you have crazy ideas, people are very skeptical. But you, at the first moment,
Yeah.
was, all right, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I think within a few months, we had already created the Visdeurbel. Well, we've been going for 4 years. What are some of the highlights of the Visdeurbel project?
Yeah, of course, the process, working together, and also we had a lot of things to overcome. We have to dig a hole here to
Oh, yes.
to make internet
Just to make the
happen.
internet. Yeah.
Yes, and so all the things I really like when we did something new, like a pioneer, and making it work together,
Yeah.
a team, but also, yeah, that it was so famous from the start, and even every year more people like it,
Yeah.
and so that's what I really like.
I remember the first year that we actually went door by door,
Yes.
handing out notes, asking people if they would please join this project,
Yes.
because we didn't know if there was anyone who was willing to look.
It was a bit of an experiment, eh?
It was an
Yes.
experiment.
So it's so amazing, actually, that I think also because it's such an unknown world, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
remember some people saying that they were really surprised that there was so much life in the water, that they didn't realize that in the inner city, in the city canals, I think they have, well, a bit of a bad image if it comes down to like open sewers or things like this. But the fact that there was so much fish living in it, people were really surprised.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's also a funny thing, eh? The name, the name is funny.
Visdeurbel,
You
yeah.
think what would that be? So that's also funny, and also it's such a positive thing. That's also what I really like.
Yeah,
People also they see with how many they are looking together. It's a bit a community feeling, and
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
also
Yeah.
a positive thing. Yeah.
I got some nice questions in the chat. Maybe you can have a look at them both. One question is, do you have bats in the city?
Of course, yes. We
Many?
have a lot. Many, yes. We have. I don't know how. I think. Yeah, we have different species also. We
Cool.
have bats. Yes.
Yeah, I
It's
noticed that one
important.
of the bridges, newly built bridges, they have actually, what is nesting places for bats
Yes.
in there, eh? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also have a place in Utrecht that's all made from bricks. It's and it's perfect for bats, and
Cool.
and they come from around Utrecht all the way, and they stay the winter there.
Oh, they hibernate there, really?
Yes, it's in the ink
Oh,
pot.
cool.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's more. Will we see a lot more fish during the summer, or is it mainly just the spring? That's a good question. I think that during the summer you see a lot of fish just living in the loch, like perch, and you see fish that are traveling around. But during springtime, normally we see more species and also more different species, because they are really on a journey. They are migrating towards their breeding grounds, and that's a nice thing about this loch. It acts like a well, they are being squeezed through this loch to go to their breeding place, which is why we see so many different species. So I guess this should be the time where you see most of the fish, actually.
Also, the water temperature now is
Yeah.
maybe perfect. And
Yeah, I did some research to migratory fish before, and we saw that the numbers of fish using fish ladders and migration routes was especially going up when the water temperature was about 12 to 15 degrees. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But of course, some species like pike and eid, they tend to travel even at cold waters. But yeah. Let's see. When do the fish go back the other way? That's a brilliant question. We haven't talked about that much because it's spring. Do you have any idea?
When, huh? No, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think they live for a while, I think, to raise
Yeah.
their children and
No, definitely. They live in. Well, we do see a peak in autumn that fish are traveling back because then the shallow water is becoming a little bit dangerous for them. So
Mhm.
that is what I do know, because shallow water can
freeze.
freeze up,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but I think they travel around all summer long. So I think there's just a peak in autumn. Let's see if there's a final question before we move on. Are there any other monitoring points that count the fish as they pass? Not yet, I
In
believe.
Utrecht.
Not in Utrecht,
Now,
right?
when we started, we tried. There was one other road they could take,
That's true,
maybe.
yes.
So we put also their camera.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
in a riool. I don't know
Yeah,
the word.
it's kind of a sewer system
Yes.
or a bypass. Yeah.
So we
yeah.
also put their camera, but there was no fish not seen,
no,
on
not
camera,
one, not a
because
single
we
one.
thought because of the water went too fast, goes too
Yeah,
fast there.
yeah.
So yeah, we knew from that time that this is the only way
Yeah,
to
exactly.
cross through Utrecht. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think we have a plan to create some new structure, some new
Mhm.
reefs in the inner city, which will be very nice because we
Yes.
will use some stones that come from the Domtoren, which has been restored. And it would be really cool if we can somehow manage to get a camera there. Then we
Yes.
can monitor more places. I do know that there are other places in the Netherlands where they also monitor with cameras. So it would be nice if we could somehow combine this footage, but that's
Mhm.
for later on. One last question. I think it's important. I said it was the last question, but it's about the murky water, the cloudy water. It has been very dark, and the main cause is actually that it has rained so much this spring.
Yes.
We've had crazy amounts of water this week. You might have noticed that there was a lot of leaves in the water, a lot of branches, because it had stormed
Mhm.
a lot. And you could see that, the wind had just put a lot of leaves in the water. And that means that all this water coming from the land also takes small debris like sand particles or clay
Clay.
particles.
Yes.
And that makes the water just
And
a little bit
also
more cloudy.
they're also doing some restoration at the canal sites in
Okay,
the city
yes,
center.
yes.
So sometimes I see them. They are working there. They're also divers. They are, going around in the soil, so they make it murky.
Okay, so that adds up to the cloudy water
Yeah, and
we
they
have
have to
right
do
now.
that. They
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
continue. So we cannot ask them to stop for 3
No,
months.
no.
But it's coming our way.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well, last year we saw that it did cleared up during the late spring. So let's hope the visibility will increase a little bit. Still, for now, we have seen a lot of fish, and thanks a lot for your patience and endurance for looking at these fish. Well, Anne, thanks a lot. It was very nice chatting to you.
Yes.
And for this moment, I also want to thank you because thanks to you, we can already do this project for 4 years.
it's really nice. I
It
really
has been
enjoy.
great fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks a lot for
You too,
for your
Mark.
collaboration.
Yeah, really
and let's
happy.
continue this for 4 more years at least.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right. Well, it was just raining, but now all of a sudden the sun is shining. And I think that would be a really nice moment to have a look at the camera itself, because you always look through the camera, but I want to show you around how the camera looks, and I will use this opportunity to clean it as well. So if you're able to, you can also watch the live stream of the Visdeurbel at the same time, so you can see that it's actually really a live stream and it's not fake for the ones who are still thinking it's fake. I will walk through this house to the camera now and I will show you around. Up. So this is the Weerdsluis. These are the upper lock doors where fish have to continue their journey all the way up to the Kromme Rijn. Now, where is this fish camera? I will show you right now. It is very hidden, just underneath here. And what you see that there's some sort of steel reel right here, and the camera is connected to it all the way down to the bottom of the water. And we can pull the camera up and then we can clean it, but right now I wasn't expecting this, but the water is high, so it's a meter higher than normally, so I cannot clean the camera right now. I will do it later when the water is low again. That will be after the live stream, so you can still have a look. But this is all it is, and the camera is located all the way at the bottom. Now fish are coming from this direction, and if you continue in that direction you will come to the river Vecht. And this is a river where a lot of fish live, but there's less breeding habitat. So they will come this way, they will follow the stream, and they will bump their noses to the lock doors, and they will hang around here. And that's the moment that we will spot them on the camera, or you will spot them at the camera. So as soon as you push the doorbell and you take a picture, then we know that fish are waiting here exactly for the boat lock doors. And we know we have to open it. And that's what's happening here. Whoop, I will climb on the other way. Now, as soon as we open these doors, fish can continue their journey into the inner city of Utrecht. And there's a whole channel system, but if they continue this way, they will have a straight journey all the way up to an other river called the Kromme Rijn, and that's where they will find their breeding grounds. So this is what you are actually doing. This is what you normally don't see because you only look under the water, but this is what's happening above the water. Now if you have a look there, you see our famous tower as well. It's called the Domtoren. I believe you have learned this word, so you should be able to tell what it is in Dutch. And if you look well, you also see Perry the Perch, our famous mascot, lying there, pointing the way for the fish in which direction they should continue. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I will go inside again and I will clean the Visdeurbel later when the water level has dropped. We had so much rain these days, and even today we had some rain, so I'm very pleased that the sun is shining right now. So let's see if we have some more questions, because I really want to chat with you. How much time does it take to maintain the camera? That's a good question. Well, I would had loved to show you, but there is a small ladder there. We do it all by hand. So that means we put the camera in the canal. We can walk down, pull the camera up, and clean the lens. And it doesn't take that much time. I think it takes me about 10 minutes. But we do have to do this every week, because especially when the weather warms, algae and other things, they get stuck on the camera lens. And you might have noticed that there were some days that the lens was really dirty. So it made us realize that we should clean it a little bit more often. Sorry if it's very dirty. You do have to realize that we have to come here as well, and we're doing our best to clean the lens as much as possible. Other questions coming in. Do you have to deal with a lot of people pressing the bell for no reason? Well, we don't deal with them. Actually, I just encourage them. If you want to press the button, just do so, because it's a lot of fun. I have a clear overview of all the pictures that come in. And that means that I can quickly see whether there's fish on them or not. So I can make a quick view and I see whether fish are waiting. If I see that there was a lot of pictures on a certain moment, it can still be that there was a fish, because sometimes they go by so very fast that you're too late pressing the button. So I will still look. If there are many pictures even with no fish on there, it's very likely that there was a fish. So this way I tend to get a good idea of how many fish there are waiting. So don't worry if you press the button and there is no fish. I would even say just try it out, because it's fun. Don't worry about this. Who is the other lock keeper with the sunglasses? Can you interview him? Well, I think he had quite a rough evening last night, so I think we will leave this interview for now. It's a really nice guy, but we won't do it for now. Can you tell us more about the new reef? Yes, I can. Thank you for this question. I think it's an important question. We had one Visdeurbel news report, and it was about the importance of structure below the water surface. Especially in the Netherlands, but also many other places in the world, we tend to maintain our water very functional. And with this, I mean that we try to use it to get rid of surplus water, or use it as a route for boats to pass. So we make it clear, we make it deep, we strengthen the sides of the canals, and it becomes just a simple bucket full of water, an empty bucket full of water. And in Holland, I call them blue deserts. There is water in the canals, but there's hardly any possibility for fish or other organisms to live there. So that's why I'm calling them blue deserts. And what we are trying to do is to create more habitats underwater. Now, if it's possible, we should always try to encourage water plants to grow, because they are the far best you can do for fish and other water organisms. Water plants, they create oxygen. They also take up chemicals. They help to get the water more clear. And they are also food for a lot of species. So nothing beats a water plant. But there are also locations where water plants can't grow, or it's not easy for them to grow. And then it helps to create places where at least species can hide, or they can attach to. So for instance, a rock or a piece of dead wood, algae or small freshwater mussels or weeds, they can attach to this, and that will draw in water invertebrates or insects, and that will draw in fish, and it will create hiding places for fish. So it's not the best, but it's the second best, and that's what we try to do in the city canals of Utrecht. These are beautiful canals. We cannot just remove them and made natural riverbanks, but what we can do is create small reefs, and we do that by combining stones with a lot of structure, a lot of holes they can crawl into, with dead wood, so branches and pieces of tree, and this creates spots where fish can hide and they can find food. And in Utrecht we have a nice project where we can even use some stones coming from this domtoren, because it's natural stone, and it's got good quality stones to use on the water, but it's also nice to tell the story of Utrecht giving back to the water. If you want to know more, I will later on tell you more about this project and share you some more information on my YouTube channel. So stay tuned. Let's see. How much kilogram do you need to bench the spin the lock wheel? That's a good question. I don't know. But just turning the wheel is not that difficult, actually. Although you see the lock keepers have quite some muscles. Let's see if there are any other questions. A few last questions to wrap up. What happens when you see a lot of fish? Do you phone the lock keeper and ask him to open the lock or communicate another way? Yes, like I said, it takes quite a long time to open the lock, so we do not have to be in touch every second, but we keep in touch by phone, but also by email, especially early in the season when we see a lot of fish. I'll just send an email in the morning saying, hey, the lock has to be open today. Later on, when there's more fish, then we tend to stay in contact more directly. So it's not that formalized. We have good contact. They are very enthusiastic. So it's also nice to share with them when there are big fish waiting. I will definitely share every now and then some videos and footage. How come the lock isn't electronically operated? It's a monumental lock. It's a good question. If we wanted to, you could open it mechanically, but it's just you are not allowed to. It's monumental, which means it has to be preserved the way it is. And I'm very pleased with this because we can do everything more efficient. But why should we? Because it's such a nice place to stay here. Um, it's getting summer now, and if you will go to this location, you will see there are dozens of people sitting on the stairs next to the lock, eating an ice cream, having a drink, watching the boats come by, and the boat lock operators opening the lock. It's for me, it's very nice that this lock is still operated by hand because it gives such a nice environment. So I hope they will continue doing this by hand for a long time. How long does the lock stay open once opened? That's a good question because fish need the time to pass the boat lock. So if we open it and close it too fast, they don't have the time to find their way out of the boat lock. So what we try to do usually is to keep the boat lock open, the doors open for at least half an hour. Especially early in spring, the water is cold, fish are not that active, they need time to swim out of the lock. And well, we use half an hour. It's not a scientifically proven number or anything, but we just want to give them enough time to pass. And that's also why it's important that we still open the boat lock for fish, even when there are boats passing. Because if we wouldn't pay attention to the fish, it could be so that we open the lock too fast or close it too fast. So even when there are boats, we tend to open the boat lock early in the morning or at the end of the day just for fish. So there's no disturbance of boats going through. Well, I think we should go to the end of this live stream. So I will see if I can see one or two more questions because I'm really enjoying chatting with you guys this directly. What is the most exciting moment for you so far this season? Oh, there were more exciting moments. I will share some with you. Definitely exciting moment was seeing the more rare species. So the first eel was a pleasure, definitely. Seeing a lot of them made me even more happy because it's an endangered species. I love to see the catfish. It's just such an impressive fish to see. I really enjoyed this. But what I also enjoyed was the start of the project. It's the 4th year now, and we see that there is a lot of enthusiasm from so many people. We were able to create Perry the Perch. Many people have been on a photo with Perry, and I'm really starting to notice that there is more and more enthusiasm and interest to know more about the underwater world. So when we started 4 years ago, it was really, I had a feeling of we had to do, well, pioneering. And now the Visdeurbel is a known phenomenon in Utrecht, but also in the Netherlands, and now even outside the Netherlands. And that's such a special thing. Yeah. So that's it. And a third thing is that we were able to do some interviews outside the Netherlands, being able to talk with people around the world about this project, hoping to share this, well, to be a little bit of an inspiration for other people and hoping that people will get more enthusiastic about the underwater world. So it has been the best season so far. Also thanks to you guys. Okay. Then how about the crawfish? That was surprising to see there. Well, it wasn't so surprising for me because I just looked in the water and I already saw 3 of them. They are very common now. They are really invasive. I saw some people from America saying their apologies. Well, it's not your fault. It's our own fault taking these species back to the Netherlands. But it is interesting to see them here, and every time you see these big claws before the camera, it is some sort of alien-like footage you see then. So although they do not originate here and belong here, it is fun to see them, and they create a nice. It's nice to see them every now and then. Well, I have to wrap up now. Let's make a deal that if I will look at some of these questions and I will come back to you later, because next Friday there will be a regular Visdeurbel news report, of course, because we will continue this the following weeks, and I would love to chat with you more. So if you have any other questions, please ask them in the chat. I will try to answer them directly at a later moment, and maybe I can use them also for another week question for following weeks. Before we wrap up, of course, we can only close with the fish forecast, the fish voorspelling, because I want to tell you what you can expect this week. Now we get a rainy week ahead of us. Tomorrow, temperature will be quite nice. It will be about 24 degrees, but there will also be a lot of rain. And it will continue to rain this week. Still, the temperatures will remain above 20 degrees. So I would say that the conditions are quite well for fish to migrate. So please keep watching. The water temperature is above 15 degrees. It cannot get much better for fish than this. And if you want to know when you have to watch, I've said it so many times, please watch early in the morning. The sun rises this week around 5:30, Dutch time, of course, and especially the first 2 to 3 hours are the best moment to watch. I've checked it for you every week again. That's when we see the most fish. So keep watching. For now, I want to thank you a lot for joining this live stream. I want to thank you for helping us out with the Visdeurbel, and I want to thank you to be able to chat with you this way far more directly. I really enjoyed it myself. I hope you enjoyed this live stream as well, having another view of the Weerdsluis. And we're going to wrap up. I hope to see you again at new Visdeurbel news reports, and let's keep in touch by the chat. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Bye.
Oh, here